But if you're not, then go ahead and do that. So we're going to jump straight in because I want to cover a lot today, and I want us to also have a lot of time for interactive activities. I want to share the screen. I need the music to play for please hold while I manage tech. Share screen. All right. So we do have slides. I'll pop the slides into the chat. We will also attach them to the recording of the video. So if you are sharing this with someone, they'll still be able to see the slides too. All right, so let's jump right in because I'm excited and I cannot wait to dive into this. So we essentially have 16 weeks to make it happen. Am I using the exact summer dates of June, 21st to September 22nd? No. I am talking about from today through Labor Day. I feel like that is a pretty good time block, and I think most of us can agree that's going to be our definition of summer for this conversation. So when you really think about it, we have 16 weeks to have a huge impact on our business and really on our year. Particularly if you are in New Jersey, New York, or the Chicago area of Illinois, you have about 16 weeks to really have a major impact on the year whatsoever because of your long contract to close process. The rest of you have a little bit of time after summer, to have a big push. But to really secure achieving your goals this year, you've got to take advantage of these next 16 weeks. And why am I bringing that up in such a strong way? Because what do a lot of people think about in summertime? What's some of the common thoughts around summertime?
Vacation.
Yeah, vacation.
Kids are out.
People don't want to move. If they were going to move this summer, they would have already done it. Like there's a lot of nonsense that happens with summer. So you need to decide if you're going to buy into seasonality or flow or, everyone's on vacation or any nonsense, or if you're going to say, okay, I have 16 weeks. I'm going to chunk this down. I'm going to know when I'm working and when I'm off. And I'm going to be very particular about the actions that I take during the time I'm working. Someone gave me a big reverb. Okay. So I just wanted to also clarify, why is this conversation today so critical? And I wanted to ask who out of the group, who is in this to win it? Because the reality of what we're going through in our industry right now, most estimates say that between 3 or 4 out of all 10, every 10 agents, they're going to be out within the next 18 months. And so my question for you is, are you going to be one of the 6 that stays in or one of the 4 that gets out? That particular stat, I checked about 3 different sources. And that's looking at contributing agents. So not just everyone who holds a license, but actually agents that are selling and or designating, self-identifying as full-time in real estate. Put that. So this is not just that huge broad number. This is a number of people that are really, looking at this as their source of income and their career. So I feel like you need to really say to yourself, no way. I will be one of the 6 out of 10 that makes it through this transition in our industry. Not only am I going to make it through, I'm going to succeed during that time. And I'm going to set new benchmarks for people and inspire everyone around me that they can do it too. And I just wanted you, and these are questions that you could use for your journaling, or you could, think about, maybe have it as a team discussion in one of your meetings. Like, where's your conviction level? Are you completely convicted that 2023 could be your best year in the past 5 years? Oftentimes people say your entire career. I coach some people that have been selling real estate for 29 years. I think I have one client who's been in real estate 32 years. I'll tell you truthfully, they used to have bigger teams and they had REO accounts, and unit wise, they're probably not going to sell more than they did at their heyday. So, you know, think about that for yourself. What is the range where you want to be your best? And don't feel as if it has to be your entire career. If you get excited about that, yay. Otherwise, feel free to change it to a time frame that would be exciting for you. And then talk about, like, why are you convicted of this belief? So I actually want to stop here for a minute. And if there's someone on this call that is hearing that and going like, yes, I am completely convicted. 2023 will be the best in my career. I don't care what comes up. Would you be willing to unmute and share with everyone why you have that conviction and how you're living that?
I refuse to give up. It's like, this is my spouse and has been for 17 years. And the reason I'm in coaching is because I haven't given my spouse what it needs so it can give back to me. So I'm not going anywhere.
Okay, good. So I think that's cool. Thank you, Lavetta. That's Lavetta Hudson from Miami. Looking at it's a long-term relationship, and you're like, nope, we're going to make this the best time of this relationship that we've ever had. Connie, did you want to share?
I'm not going to be a teacher again.
There you go. I know. So Connie, I think it's fair to share. She's a former teacher. Thank you for your time as a teacher. Really had a Scarlett O'Hara style moment. You know, as God is my witness, I shall not be a teacher again. You know, and hanging on, you know, keeping your grip right above the knot on that rope sometimes to make sure that you make it through. And so you also have that feeling of you will get the satisfaction and joy that you have from teaching by educating your clients, and you're going to create the income that was not ever possible in your past career. Good. Let's get one more and then we'll keep going.
I will share.
Okay.
This is Linda. I actually did my Bull 100 yesterday, 100
right.
contacts.
Yes.
I finished, I got a number 100 at like 8:59 last night.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe it feels great. I almost gave up when I was at 0.60, at 65 contacts, right, and voice to voice. And it was almost like, it was 5 something. I feel really tired. And then one of my team members said she did her Bull 100. I'm like, I got to do it. I got leads through that. I got clients want to sell and 1031 into Hawaii and 1031 possibly into Austin.
Yes.
And that would not happen if I didn't do the Bull 100. And I didn't suspect that, I didn't even think that she would be wanting to sell her San Diego properties. And I do have buyers that the price point, 2 of them, both up to 10 million each, and that the inventory available is not really a very limited inventory, number one, and very limited to, it's not what they like. But what my client also helped me to create what, you know, how to explore, discover opportunity. They were looking for units for rent in La Jolla, in Zillow, and they are like renting $30,000 to $60,000 a month. And she had me contact the seller to see if they were willing to sell. So I thought, wow, I never thought about that, you know?
That's
so
right.
It's just different. I would definitely want to be 6 out of 10 that stay in the business and excel. Like what Gary said, we want to take out a fair share. And I love whoever before me saying that it's their spouse for the last 17 years, or, you know, I mean, real estate's been my spouse, I think, for at least 11 or 12 years, if not 21 years that I'm in. And I thank Bridget for putting this together. I think the time's tough. I was thinking to myself, I never have, you know, such a January started out very strong and the market kind of slowed down, or the inventory just really, you know, very minimum. Yet at the same time, we can still create our market. And
absolutely,
I appreciate this opportunity to listening. I'm driving, so my screen is off, and I just, you know, let's do it. That I didn't realize we only had so many more weeks left, but mine will be less because Bridget, we're going to go to Africa.
Correct.
So
yeah, that's right.
So I need to. I might do Bull 100 once every week, and
excellent,
you know, just to catch up, and you know,
and that's what really stuck out to me.
Have that conversation
with what you just shared. What stuck out to me most strongly, I hope you all heard this. She committed to doing a bold 100 yesterday. I spoke to her in the morning and she's like, yeah, I'm making it happen. She wasn't gonna let anything get in her way. And yet when she was doing 100 voice to voice, and she challenged her
Yeah.
whole table. So her whole bold table was doing this. So she had people in the foxhole with her to make it happen. And as she shared, she lost her way right around, I think, about 5:45 and 65 contacts. And like, oh, maybe I'm going to give up. And that teammate in the foxhole with her was like, yes, I just did the 100. And that fueled her along to keep going. It's so important that you make sure you have people around you all the time that are going to keep you pushing for what you want to do. And especially during this time. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, happy to.
Yeah. And that's huge. So, and the thought of doing the bold 100 every week, that might come up again later in this fall. So the two,
If I may make this comment,
yes,
I really utilize comment because every time I have a conversation with a client, I right away enter, even though like my thing of call yesterday was wishing everybody wishing the mother happy Mother's Day. That was the focus of my call yesterday. And then, and I just put in comment, and some of the clients like, I just spoke to her last week. And I look, I'm like, oh my God, last time I spoke to her was March 24th. And even though it feel like so fresh in my mind, it's not.
Right.
You know, it's been already a couple months. So I really like using the comments free, and I put every conversation I have with Mel that we put it in there, so it's easy for reference in the future. And I am definitely going to push as hard as I possibly can, and to finish a year strong.
Good. That's really good.
Yeah.
And that's that next question of who's really bringing out their grit and determination to burst through the market. I would encourage you, if you are talking to an agent that is being Chicken Little or Debbie Downer or whatever, in your own mind, have a plan that you're like, man, this gives fuel to my grit. Keep talking, because you're just filling my tank for my determination to burst through. And then last quick thought on this before we get into the specifics. And you don't need to answer this. No, please don't answer this out loud. You don't need to raise your hand. But who is on the fence? The reality is some of you might be on the fence. We've been through a grind for a couple of years in our industry, more so than we usually face. So if you are on the fence, schedule a time to talk with me about it if you feel like you're on the fence. And one of the things I was going to say, during COVID, you could kind of be on the fence. It didn't matter as much to be on the fence during COVID pandemic time, but right now, if you're on the fence, you are susceptible to high winds, enemy and friendly fire, and you will get splinters in places where you don't want splinters. Do not sit on the fence. So that if you happen to be on the fence, again, you don't need to bring that to the table here or share that, but just make sure that you schedule a time so we can talk about it. All right, so we're going to dive in today. So we're going to talk about those 16 weeks. We're going to talk about time. We're going to really get honed in on what are you going to do with the time that you have. We all have the same amount of time, and it really comes down to what do you do in that time. Most of you work full time. Some of you are selling, double-digit homes every month, and some are selling 2. One's not right or wrong. It's just you have that same amount of time. If you want a different result, could you change what you're doing in that amount of time to sell more houses in the same time? So I just wanted to break it down further. We've got 16 weeks. I took out Mega Camp and the holidays, Memorial, Labor Day, and 4th of July. So there's around 73 work days. And that's before we factor in vacations that you may have planned. So I want everyone to, and you can do this quickly in your own notes. If you know that you're going out of the country for 2 weeks, subtract 10 more work days off of this and 2 more weeks off of that. So you've got 14 weeks and you have 63 work days, right? So each of you do that yourselves, and you're going to get that clarity about when you're working. And then I want to take a moment so we can all get agreement around this. So let's use 63. So let's say you've got trips planned and you're going to have 63 work days over the course of 14 weeks to accomplish what you want to do between now and Labor Day. How are you going to define what qualifies as a work day? And you guys can just share. You can either share in the chat or you can just start talking. Like, what to you is a work day?
Any day besides Sunday.
Same here.
Okay. And then is there any, so what if it's a Thursday and all you do all day is check email, reply to email, and look for properties? Was that a work day?
No.
That was a busyness disguising itself as work day, right? So, so it sounds like you two, you have protected Sunday as a day off or a day for family or whatever, and you work the other days. But let's really define, like, how else do you know whether or not you worked all day? I will include myself in this. I have had very busy days where I think it was very busy, but when I look back on it, it doesn't necessarily mean that I achieved any mission critical activities. You know, so how can you define for yourself when you flip that metaphorical switch off at the end of the day to say the workday is done? How do you know whether or not it was a work day?
If I had my 20 conversations.
Okay. So 20 contacts, when you know you've had 20 contacts, you've had a work day. So any other qualifiers for what is a work day?
I think when I either get a listing or get my buyer into a contract, that's a work day for me.
Okay. So if you got to buy, you got some contract signed by somebody, then that is, you feel as if that was a work day. Great. I see someone put in here, took a listing and scheduled an appointment. Any other ways that you guys qualify what is a work day? But can you see where we're going with this? We're talking about one day. I'll be ultra candid here, and I'm talking about my own self. So don't sit there and say, is she talking about me? Because I'm not. I'm just talking about me. I've had weeks. I've had a week, very busy, up early, out of the house, met with people, you know, did a lot of things, did research, doesn't necessarily mean that I hit the mission critical targets for achieving the goal. So this is something that I'm going to encourage all of you to reflect on adding to your end of day ritual. Was today a work day or not? And you decide for yourself. So this is something where there's not one answer for everybody. So for Connie, it's 20 contacts. For Rumana, it's someone signed a contract. You know, like, so for Margaret, it's scheduled a listing appointment and or got a listing signed. So you can each have a different parameter, but what if you started having a check at the end of each day? Was it a work day? Check. Or was it not? And do you think that data could be helpful as you're moving towards your goal? What if we looked at the flip side of this? How many of you in our coaching conversations want to travel more or have more time with family, or when you're off, truly feel like you're off? Okay, what if we flip this switch and you define for yourself what is a day off? And at that end of the day ritual, you also check in with yourself on, did I honor my parameters and commitment to my family for what qualifies as a day off? And I mentioned that because we know there's that, I call it the 5% rule. If you're literally waiting to hear back on whether your multiple offer was accepted and you have to sign up, yeah, there's going to be some very, very specific things where you would tell your family, hey guys, I do need to listen for this one thing, but making sure that you're not deluding yourself and that's not turning into, you know, being on your phone for 3 hours that day. So let's make that let's add that. I don't have it on the slide, but let's add that in. if you were going to have a day off, are you honoring what you consider to be a day off? So here we're just going to look at this in one other way. So 16 weeks, if you had a focus and you got off this call today and you went, you know what? I'm just going to take one listing a week for the next 16 weeks. That would be 16 new listings. I know a lot of your average sales prices. That would be it easily 16 to 20 million more in gross sales volume. Has anyone ever taken 16 listings in 16 weeks? Because you haven't done it in the past doesn't mean you couldn't do it now. Am I saying that's a goal to set for everybody? No. Is it something interesting to think about and take back to your team? I think so. What if we didn't want to make it listings? What if you work with listings and buyers? Or what if you're on this call and you're a full up buyer's agent? Great. It would be buyer agency contract signed, right? But just start thinking about, do you want to have a full price sort of summer plan? Aaron, can you mute? There you go. And just have a focus on either listings taken or buyer agency signed. If you did that math and you know you're out of the country for 2 weeks and you said, I'm going to work 14 weeks, great, 14 new listings. So you get where I'm going with this. Take this concept and then customize it to yourself. I'm giving you a flower sack and you can customize and tailor it into a dress. I did leave this 73 work days. If you hit 20 contacts per day, you would make 1,460 contacts between now and Labor Day. Out of curiosity, I'm going to stop sharing for a minute so I can see all of you. For how many of you would that be a new record set in terms of contacts made in? Okay. So what do you guys think when you hear 1,460 contacts? And this, I do want some of you to unmute. Like when you hear that number, what does that sound like?
It feels
Doable.
overwhelming.
It's yikes.
So someone said doable. Who said doable?
I did, because I did over 3,400 contact calls in 14 days when I was quarantined in Taipei. So I know I could do it. I know it's crazy.
Good. So you know you can do it. And then some of you said it felt overwhelming. Is that another word?
Yes.
So tell me, which we don't need to spend a lot of time here, but I do want to know, what does the overwhelming feeling come from?
Sometimes the cussing out. I can take the hang up, but sometimes it's the cussing out, because maybe by the time I call them, 20 people have already called them. Like it was an expired or something like that.
Okay. So I'm going to lump that into fear of objectionable rejection. Yeah, so they're foul. Who else said that it felt overwhelming? What's the reason behind it?
Can I ask a clarifying question, Bridget?
Yes.
When we are talking about 20 contacts a day, are we talking about new contacts we are making? Are we talking about going to our sphere of influence as well, and or past clients and calling them as well?
Literally, in my book, 60 to 65% of those contacts should be in METs. And it should, at least 6 it should be with VIP level, past client level, first 3 circles of life of influence level. So this is in your METs, this is your home anniversary calls, this is happy birthday calls, as Linda said, Mother's Day, well wishes. So it's not new. We're not talking about new.
Then I'm good with 20 calls.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no problem.
Good. And that's why I wanted this to be interactive. And this is why I'm asking sometimes the meaning behind it, because I want to make sure that we are getting clarity as we have this conversation. I mean, Ramana, I have some clients where all of their contacts are in METs. Any unmets, their buyer agent or junior agent handles every single unmet. So And I think that that is kind of delightful, you know, so, and they have like a threshold that somebody would have to meet and exceed to be introduced to be in that new level. Meaning someone from your absolute inner circle or VIP would say, Ramona, can you please help Ruby? You know, she's one of my, you know, that, so they have to meet certain criteria to even get in with the Wizard of Oz. You know, so yes, this is in your minutes. So this, and Linda, thank you for sharing that. So when she was in quarantine in Taipei, she made countless contacts. One of my clients that was positive for COVID, but wasn't actually sick. You know, some people were positive, but they weren't having symptoms. He was quarantined in his basement, a nice basement, pool table, rec area for 2 weeks because it was early on and his family was worried. He made more contacts in those 2 weeks than he has ever since or before, right? You know, so that's the thing. When you think about a full court press or you start thinking about what you could do, and you know that it won't be forever, I think that you all could challenge yourselves to increase your lead generation. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we go further into the conversation. Am I saying everyone must do 20? No, I'm saying customize this to you and yet add that bit of challenge to it. This is not, you know, you guys know the cliche, what got you here is not going to get you there. So this is not a time to stay status quo. Do I think you have to throw everything out and start from scratch? Of course not. It's where you want to just do that slight turn it from 7 to 8. You just want small changes to make a big difference. Okay. So this is something, really take this, obviously, you know, change the math to 63 days. What would that, you know, what would that number be? And really talk with your team or your support about what that would mean for you. Okay. So now let's talk briefly about how quickly will 16 weeks go by? Who already is thinking, well, we better make our plans for Labor Day because it's right around the corner. I mean, it sounds far off. It's going to be here very quickly. Can we all agree on that?
Yes.
Okay. So I just wanted to run a couple of ideas past you all of what could happen if you take this approach of 16 weeks, full court press. I am putting blinders on. I will have my plan and I'm going to execute with intentionality for 16 weeks. So I was thinking, well, what would happen if every day, and again, if you're doing these things that you just, you know, turn it from 7 to 8, you're just turning the volume up that little bit, or you're tightening the screw a little bit, right? So whether it's turning it up or tightening it up, whichever is appropriate. So what if every day you did affirmations and visualizations? Most of you are doing that. Could you pump it up slightly? What if daily on the days designated as work days, you had intentional and conscientious lead generation? Structured, using a timer, music on, that great environment that we've talked about setting up. What if you added an additional level of intentionality with lead follow-up? You ask every lead one more time. You truly followed the pipeline review or the formal lead follow-up process, having at least 1 hour a week just dedicated to that. What if you did skill practice on a regular basis? Including, I know a lot of you that are on here come to the deep dive. How many of you have gone on the deep dive, heard something there and used it in appointments? Yeah, so, you know, what if you got more intentional around skill practice? What if what if you had my work day starts at this time and ends at this time, knowing there's that 5%, you know, special circumstance, but keeping it very limited, and actually knew when you were going to start and end. That's a novel thought in real estate, isn't it? We usually have start times. We very rarely have end times. We finish when we finish. What if you journaled, and as we talked about, you did that little exercise of, does today qualify as a work day by my own definition? Did it count as a day off by my own definition? Based on my performance and activities today, would I hire myself or fire myself? Look at that. I'm so convicted I would hire myself. I have a typo and I just put hired myself on both. That is supposed to say fire. So would you hire yourself or fire yourself based on today's activity? And what if you did your listing presentation every workday? I don't know. So those are just some ideas for you to think about. Like, does anyone think if you did some of these that you may have an impact on your production? Or even just your enjoyment of work?
Yes.
And then what if every week you had an actual sales meeting with preparation? With preparation and thought for culture and the energy and atmosphere of the sales meeting. And I don't care if it's 2 of you. That is one of the biggest traps agents fall into. Sometimes when I'm in a new coaching relationship, I'll say, do you have regular sales meetings? And well, no, it's just the 2 of us. Okay. I didn't realize that there was a minimum required to have an actual time designated to discuss production, progress, projects of a team. So really turn up the nature of your sales meetings. Update your CSU and your visual trackers. So many of you, we have talked recently about some short-term visual trackers and some visual trackers for the remainder of the year. We had that great description of Amber Cruz's visual trackers in terms of the lead indicators of appointments set. So like upping your game in that area. Calculating and reviewing your projected income created each week. What if part of your Friday afternoon before you turn the light switch off in the office, what if you sat down and looked at the contracts signed, either in listings taken or, you know, sales contracts, and do a quick projection on the income? All right, great. I just had a $41,000 week. By the same token, facing the music, if no listing agreements were signed and no contracts of sale were signed and no outbound referral became a contract of sale, saying to yourself, okay, well, as hard as I worked this week, there was 0 projected income created. Could that activate another part of your RAS? If you had that question and you did that pass fail each week? I think it could. You took one more listing or buyer agency. What if you sent one gratitude letter every week for the next 16 weeks? I call it gratitude letter, but call it whatever you want. The letter that needs to be written, or, you know, just someone that, that you know you would impact their life if you sent them a letter. What if you decided you were just going to write one letter? And I'm not talking real estate. This could be a relative you used to be close to that, you know, through life and kids you sort of haven't talked to recently, or maybe one of your parents, or maybe someone, a teacher from high school. I don't know who, but what if you decided that you were going to send one letter out? This one we kind of touched on briefly already. What if you designated a family or friend time and literally said that you have no phone during that time? Believe it or not, it's possible. You know, some of you will say, no, it is possible, right? And what if you had one more spiritual time than usual? So let's say that part of what you do to restore yourself spiritually is you already go surfing twice a week. Well, what if you went 3 times? What if you currently go to mass or go to a service? What if you added in one more time stopping by yourself? You know, so just thinking about that concept of adding that little bit more in terms of restoring yourself and filling your bucket in that spiritual realm in whatever way that is for you. So those are just some ideas. Does anyone have any anything they would like to add, or did any of these particularly catch your attention, or any questions before we move on?
I was just going to say that I get on the Scripts Jedi every
Mhm.
morning. Wonderful practice. If y'all haven't done that, it's wonderful.
Right. So you're working on that skill practice and you're already seeing the difference.
What
Yep.
is Scripts Jedi? Is that a Facebook page?
So
It is on Facebook. It's scriptsjedi.club.
any other thoughts on this just before we jump to the next one?
On doing those review of the week
Mm-hmm.
on Fridays,
Mhm.
would it, why are you doing it on Fridays and not doing it on Mondays?
Because in my mind, that's looking at what you actually accomplished.
Okay.
Oh, do you mean because like you work on the weekends?
Well, there are days, Saturdays I'm working, but I would just think, okay, on Monday morning, okay, you had what kind of week last week. What are you going to do about it? And let's.
So for me, that is like so I'm glad you brought that up. So that to me is part of Sunday evening or Monday morning review of the coming week. It's adding, it ties back to, most of us know, we'll say like, oh, what time are you starting tomorrow? Oh, I'm starting at 9. So we know when we're starting, but in real estate, we rarely say, I work from 8:30 to 4:30 every day. There's usually not the end time. We're really notoriously bad about that. So this is adding an end time to the week as well as the day. So we're good at looking at the upcoming calendar. What do I have scheduled? And they didn't confirm their listing appointment yet. And okay, make sure that those postcard proofs get out. We're good at that. But having that Friday review is really stopping yourself to say, what did I achieve in this week? What did I miss? And having, so it's adding an end time to the week as well. I like Fridays because to me, even when I was selling full time, like Saturday was sort of like the start of my next week. That can be personal. If you have a different day that's your last day of the week, make it that day. Okay.
Yeah, I like that idea. Maybe give yourself an early out on Friday after you go through your numbers and all that good stuff.
If you've achieved what you set out to do, have it
Yeah.
as a win reward, that'd be good.
Yeah, thank you.
So the next thing I want to go into, and this I would like to spend just a minute here. So, what can you do with your time to have your life by design and achieve your goals? And I wanted us to take a minute before we get into the practical steps of finding more listings and finding more contracts. Can you identify time wasters that may be holding you back, and or things that you're not doing that you may want to add in? Is there anything you're procrastinating on? So I wanted us to take a minute and just talk about time a little bit more. I feel like oftentimes we jump straight to production, don't spend enough time looking at the usage of time. It is absolute, that is your secondary currency. You have time, talent, and money. And so let's just go into this on, can anyone identify a time waster that is holding them back?
Checking.
Oh my God, I'm in a Zoom room of time efficiency experts. It's like you're all the ad from the original Cheaper by the Dozen.
I know.
No, I would say, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I would say, checking your email too often. You don't, I don't think we need to do that. Maybe once in the morning and right before we finish our work. But if we are checking it, that is basically a waste.
Right. I agree. And when you do that, it can, someone said it great. If you run your day by email, you're actually following other people's to-do list. You're literally answering to multiple bosses and you're allowing others to write your to-do list.
I think text.
I don't think any of you would want that to be your reality. And yet some of you are living that. All right, what was that next one?
I think texts are that same type of chain.
Correct. Yeah, when you're just addicted to that text, and then you might be sitting down and saying, okay, I'm going to do my structured formal lead review, pipeline review. Oh, oops, a text came in. Oh shoot, let me take care of that real quick. Oh, let me call that appraiser. It's the text can be equally intrusive. And again, then you are allowing someone else to dictate your day
Right.
and what you're gonna do. What are some other time wasters?
Scrolling on social media. I feel like it's one of those double-edged swords because we have to be on it. We have to be engaging, right? I get links from it. So thank God for my admin. Shout out to Marianne in the chat in the group because she helps with that. But sometimes, you know, you make a post or you answer some questions, you want to engage. Next thing you know, you're scrolling and it's like, shit, an hour went by or whatever, and you're dilly-dallying on social media. I think that is one for sure.
Yeah.
Also, TV. We
TV.
try to watch a quick show or something like for our self-care. If you want to do something, next thing you know, God.
Right. Right. What else can get in the way?
People in the office trying to chat and talk about their day or talk about whatever other than work.
Right.
That's a time waster for sure.
Yeah, especially what if they're talking about something negative or Chicken Little or fear around the market or any of that?
Yeah,
Literally, is that going to help you in achieving your goals?
no.
No.
It's
I
time.
want to give you all a horrific visual that I think can help in this area. If someone knocked on your door at home and you went and answered the door, and as soon as you opened the door, they took a huge garbage can. I don't mean like a kitchen garbage can. I mean one like that you put out at the curb to be picked up, untied bags full of garbage, and they just dumped it in your front door. Would you be upset?
Yes.
Would that ruin your day? Would you then have to take time to like clean it up and tell them to leave and all that, right? And then 2 days later, you hear a knock on the door and you look through the peephole and it's that same person. Are you opening the door again?
No.
Don't do it. Because
Right.
that's what they're doing. If someone comes to your door and like, oh my God, you hear what happened and this and that at the market center and such an ROP and the interest rates and no one will sell. Just imagine, I want you to, in your mind, go like, oh yeah, this is what Bridget's talking about. This is someone dumping their garbage can in my living room. Okay, so think about that visual. And then Amber, let me go to speaker view for a second. Okay, Amber, talk. So
Okay.
maybe on the-
So
Okay.
just a little tip that I got from Bridget on our last call. It was preparing for the here call. I took this from her and she wanted us to figure out what is our dollar per hour? How much time are we wasting by doing the chit chatting? Because I'm friendly and bubbly. If somebody wants to talk, I'll talk to them, right? That is one of my problems. So I created this and it goes on my window anytime I'm lead generating, and it says, hi, we do not exist at the moment. We are busy lead generating. If you must chat with us, please note our fee below and know that we accept cash, Venmo, or Zelle. Our time costs $740.75 per hour or $12.34 per minute. P.S. You should be lead generating too. Feel free to email or text us in the meantime and we'll get back to you soon. So we put that on there so we can not even make eye contact with people.
Yep.
This is based off of what our GCI, what our goals are in terms of what we want to gross for the year. And we get some funny looks, we get people walk in anyway. And I try to really like create the boundary to be like, look at the sign, or like, I'm busy. Some other people put like, do not enter lead generating, or please don't knock in a Zoom call, or whatever you can do to block out the noise. It's
Right.
really helpful, and it'll create a better environment for you to work. And when people say like, oh, 700, like somebody made a joke on our Facebook group and they said, I said, does anybody want to host an open house? And they said for $700 an hour, Amber, or something, like making a joke of it. But I'm glad they got the point, and I don't care if it's mean, but the point is, you know, they don't pay our bills.
That's
So.
right. You're not going to buy Adidas for your kid or pay your Verizon bill. And the other thing too is, and I'll just ask the group, do you think that her sign may have changed someone's perspective in the office on their own value? Right? So you know that cliche of be the change you want to see and all that. Can you see how that she's impacting others by having that sign?
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Who
Bridget.
thinks, who wants me to help them do their math so they can make their sign? We can do that next week. Because that, by the way, we did the math. Those numbers are real numbers. Those are not made up numbers. Okay. So, so really just going back to time wasters, do not open the door if someone's going to throw garbage in your living room, and really take that level of protection around your lead generation or your lead follow-up, because that is ultimately where every dollar that you earn in real estate sales. So I'm not talking about rental properties you have or holding notes, whatever, but in your sales organization, every dollar earned, every penny earned is from directly lead generation or lead follow-up. Everyone knows that, right? Sometimes I have people say like, well, no, someone called me and said, well, you still had to pick the phone up and call the person they gave you and set the appointment. Then you had to show up in a way where they thought, yes, I am confident you could sell my home or help me buy one. You know, so you still had to do the lead follow-up to make it happen. Unless someone can say, my broker gave me a check the other day, I do not know the address and I don't know the name of anyone involved, and I tried giving it back and he said, no, keep it. Okay, well then you earned that from, I don't know where. Okay, probably like an email scam, and it's a money laundering. Don't take the check, because everything you do comes back to your effort in lead generation and lead follow-up. Any other time wasters that we want to go over real quick?
I think I need a little bit of help wrapping my mind around the constant time blocking of even like family time, because I don't want to say family time is a time waster. That's not the
Right.
word.
Yeah, it's not. I don't have that in the time.
But sometimes it can be, lounging around, chilling with dad or whatever. Dad doesn't pay my bills either, right? So just
Right.
not seem like I'm a robot, right? Because I'm not, and I'm a person and I like to hang out, but also just kind of figuring out a window to just be sometimes, like turn off the agent mode and just be Amber and relax. So that's tough too sometimes. I will share something. It was just my birthday this last month, and my mom was like, Amber doesn't need my money, but she gifted me a relaxation session with sound bowls, and it was just in my house with a couple girlfriends, and it was just like, she asked us, how do we feel before we started? And I felt so anxious putting my phone away on a Wednesday from like 4 to 5. And I think something along the lines of, I don't know, fearing what'll happen or missing things. I think that's part of what hurts us, is wanting to feel like okay to decompress and turn it off, but you can't turn it off for too long. So I'm struggling at that point a little bit.
I think it's a constant struggle. And if you guys have heard Gary talk about the weight of our phones, he said these devices, we think they're so lightweight and small, but it's one of the heaviest things that we carry with us in our life at this point. So I would say maybe take this 16 weeks to challenge yourself that you have a certain time block every week where the phone is off and not in the same room. And like anything we talk about, piggyback it onto something else. And a good one, I have one client where they attend mass regularly. So when you go to mass, of course, you turn your phone off. And what she did is she challenged herself that she does not turn it on for 3 hours after mass. So it's like, and is it easy? No. Has she had times where she didn't make it? Yeah, but it's getting easier each week. So to think about that, maybe you could piggyback that onto, I don't see any of my surfers on here, but one of my surfers, same thing. She doesn't want to even bring her phone out on the beach and leave it in the bag or whatever. So she puts it in a little cubby in the back of her car and she turns it off. So now when she goes back to the car, she doesn't grab it right away. She drives where she's going, and then she has a certain amount of time without the phone after the surfing. So those are 2 quick ideas, but just play around with being less attached to your phone and making that okay. And anyone on here can relate to what Amber is sharing? Yeah. So, Amber, their broken ankle doesn't make your broken shin bone hurt less, but it's, you're not alone in this. And certainly in our industry, it's a major issue. So really think about that. And maybe that could work into the 16-week plan, having a specific plan on it.
Bridget, can I share something?
Yes.
I read something recently, a study that if you take 20 minutes 3 times a day, it's the same as taking an hour. So turn your phone off for 20 minutes, go out and walk, go play in the garden, go watch the birds, but 20 minutes 3 times a day does the same thing.
Yes, it has like a cumulative effect. Yeah. All right. So who wants to- go ahead.
I was going to tell you about the time situation. I have a problem, and it's been happening the last couple of weeks of I've been putting out fires right and left. So that's where I'm getting behind, because I'm trying to salvage things and I'm not doing the lead generation I should be doing.
You just made me think of one of my colleagues for many, many years. Would you all like to hear an incredible example of how to manage that and get an awareness? Because it turns into self-awareness. Like, so Lisa, you're already on the road to recovery because you have the awareness level. Jane Fairweather, incredible agent. She's retired now. She literally had a tiara, and the tiara, she put the tiara on her head when she was lead generating or lead follower. So that was one of the visual cues that she used, similar to Amber's sign. So if people went by her office and she had the tiara on, they knew to not even think of saying hello, because Jane would freak out. We had an equal level of intensity. I can be intense. I don't know if you all knew that. So, so her tiara was lead generation, lead follow-up. When she was handling fires, she bought a fireman hat, a costume one, not a real one, you know, like from the Halloween costumes. And so when she was when she was having a meeting with her TC, or she was working on anything for pending transactions, she had to have the fireman hat on. And again, people knew you could approach her, but it still better be something worthwhile, because she was doing income maintaining and or addressing issues. So I know that might sound weird. Oftentimes I feel like as we've become more and more digital, we have lost the understanding of the impact of something being tangible. So there is something about, you know, Lisa, I wonder what would happen if you bought a costume fireman's hat, and whenever you find yourself putting out fires, you put that on. One of the other people in our group, this is when I was still at Remax, he had a Superman cape. So when he knew he was getting into the unnecessary Superman mode, does anyone know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Being an agent, like, oh, I'm going to save the day. He would make himself wear that cape the rest of the day. And he felt like an idiot. And he made himself do it. And guess what? It helped him keep his emotions between the lines. It helped him keep focused on the outcome. When other agents were being freaky, he's like, I don't want to wear that stupid cape the rest of the day. So he kept himself focused on, you know what, Lavetta? I have a seller that wants to sell. You have a buyer that wants to buy. Where do we meet in the middle? You know, so it really helped him in that regard. So I guess my point with sharing those examples is, don't forget that you can have, there are tangible things that will increase your awareness. A great example is the bold bracelet. Has anyone on this call ever worn the bold bracelet and done what you were supposed to do? So if you had, yep, okay. So you had a negative thought, you either swapped the wrist or you snapped it, right? So there's tangible things. I'll figure out what might work for you. Having that fireman hat and having it in your peripheral vision could really help. I have other clients that have had cowboy hats. So when they have on their cowboy hat, they are lead generating or they're lead follow-up, because that is wrangling in business, right? So you guys know I coach a lot of ranch and land and horse people, so it makes sense. But those of us who are not horse and ranch, we can also wear the delightful cowboy hats. I have some lovely ones if you need inspiration. So think about that. And yes, Jane did leave one day quickly to go to a listing appointment and forgot she had the tiara on her head, walked into the listing appointment, and in the foyer mirror caught a glimpse of herself and was like, oh damn, I'm wearing the tiara. Multi-millionaire though, so you know, feel free to adopt the tiara approach. So Lisa, you bring up a great point, and time wasters, that is a big one.
It's seems to be.
I want you to remember that, the, time spent on a fire does not necessarily put it out. Can everyone relate to that?
Yes.
Okay. So be quick and efficient with who needs to do what, assign who's doing what, let them do it. If you need to do something, do it quickly and get over it. So there's some issue with, oh, the appraisal couldn't get into the house, the appraiser couldn't get in, so now we might delay. Okay, well, there's nothing you can do. You don't have a time machine. So literally call the seller, call the appraiser, reschedule it, and then purge it out of your brain and do the next action step towards your goal. Okay.
Okay.
Amber?
I was just gonna add, Lisa, one thing that I also helped get me in that mindset was think about when we need to call an attorney or when we call our doctor, right? Like, for all we know, let's say, for example, I'm getting a divorce and I don't know, I punched my husband in the face and I'm like, I'm calling my attorney. I'm just making up a random example, but the attorney, I'm still gonna have to wait to call, leave a message or whatever. And we understand, like, attorneys are busy, they're working, they might be in a meeting, they could be wherever. If I stub my toe and break it, unless I'm going to the hospital, which we're not the ER, we'll have to make an appointment, we'll have to follow up, or they'll get back to us quickly. And we are just trained to understand and assume that. We don't get mad at a lawyer for being, we don't get mad at a doctor for having another patient. So as long as we block out our time, I would say, like, obviously 2 to 3 hours, there's nothing very rarely that we could do where nothing's going to fall apart if we give it 2 hours and say we were in a meeting, right? We're allowed to be in a meeting. And if someone can accept that, then I don't know what else to tell them.
I used to tell co-op agents, we're not transporting human kidneys in a cooler, and little Johnny's going to die if we miss the helicopter. Which pissed him off a lot of the time, but that's all right, part of my charm. And it's true, we're not. Little Johnny's not going to die. We don't have the kidneys in an igloo. Caroline, did you want to add something?
Well, sometimes what happens when if you're in the process and you honor the time that you're supposed to be on the phone making your calls, and then you go and pick it up, it's all been taken care of.
It's fixed. Yes, that is correct.
That has happened.
that happens a lot. You know, so that I got to tell you that some of the highest producing agents do not check their email until around 11:15 or 11 in the morning. And or their assistant checks it for them and they are under strict instruction, no bombs delivered until lead generation is complete. Then they have a quick check-in, because a lot of times, as Caroline said, the bombs have actually been resolved either by title, escrow, lender, or the other agent. Sometimes it doesn't, but a lot of times it does. The oh my God, the deal's going to break apart over a chandelier is resolved, and you got everything you wanted to accomplish, you know, during that time.
And you're not a loser for doing that.
Yeah. So just, you know, that's part of trusting in your processes. So, you know, play around with that and see what you can do. All right, so let me go back to this fun conversation. And just a little thought here. We're not going to talk too much about this, but I encourage everyone, add this into your journaling exercise this coming week. What would happen if you worked this summer as if you could not fail? What if you just worked as if everything you did was going to work out? What if you're like, I will make 20 contacts every workday and I'll set a listing appointment every workday? Well, okay, what if you just operated in the realm as if all things were possible and that failure was not an option? I think that's that's from one of my former coaches years and years ago. And it's one that I find I live in that space frequently. And then it will fade off and I'll be like, oh yeah, I got to operate as if I could not fail again, you know, and then you bring it back. So I wanted to share that concept. I think that could also be a great topic of a sales meeting and make it an interactive exercise with your team. Was somebody asking a question? Nope. Okay. All right, so this, I know it's a quote that I might overuse, but it's one of my favorites from Gary. If everyone has the same amount of time, and yet some earn more than others, can we say then that it's how we use our time that determines the money? So, little Mr. Bit of wisdom, had to throw in a little bit of Gary. All right, so who wants to brainstorm about finding listings and buyers? No, I have a fun dilemma. I need some fake cheering. Yay, who's ready?
Yay.
Okay, cool. All right, so here's the dilemma. We're gonna talk now, and many of you have done this exercise. We're gonna do a joint 20 ways exercise together. But I wanted to give a very intense framework for this conversation. So here's your dilemma. I want you to imagine right now, in your mind, think of someone that you love dearly. And what if that person needed to have life-saving surgery in 30 days? They were going to be fine for those 30 days, but they needed that surgery 30 days from now. And the only currency that the hospital or the doctors would accept is signed listing agreements. They won't take money, insurance, no cash, no credit, no checks. They literally will only accept signed listing agreements as compensation. What would you do?
Whatever it took to make it happen. Knock on doors, make calls, have events, cold call, whatever it took to make it happen.
It would be literally non-negotiable. Is there anyone on this call that is sitting there going like, well, guess time would just be up for them? You know, anyone that would just throw in the towel?
No.
Using the same context of the previous math we did. So let's say you had to have 16 listings. So Regina says you would literally do whatever it took. Right? So can we have that? And again, I haven't sharing the screen, so I can't see all of you. Is there anyone there that's like, I guess it's the end of the road? Or is everyone feeling like, okay, yeah, that would up my game? That would add a little bit of fire under my butt every day. And if you represent buyers, and in this conversation, if you represent buyers, obviously substitute buyer agencies in this conversation. So what we're going to do together is we're going to do a 20 ways exercise. So in this next time, I want us to go through and in SMART, meaning specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, and timely, we will establish a list of 20 ways to actually find business right now. And I'm just going to say find business because that will cover all of it, with a focus on taking 16 listings. After you have and you can do this yourself. So any project that you want to do with your team, you can go through this 20 ways exercise, type it up and print it out. After you've done that, the next step to polish and refine it would be to identify challenges that may get in your way and come up with 3 strategies to avoid or cope with any challenge that gets in your way. And I'm going to recommend that all of you start this today. So let me go to, we're going to, bear with me in case it gives us issues. I am going to share a whiteboard. Let's see if this works. There we go. All right, so everyone gets the game. You guys are going to go ahead and tell me ways that we could get 16 listings or buyer agencies signed by Labor Day. And in the process, we're going to save the lives of all of our loved ones. Okay, so have that intensity factor. Okay, so who knows one way that we could get 16 listings signed by Labor Day? You're going to shout them out.
Call your sphere.
And when we look at making that a SMART goal, what do we need to add to that to make it specific, measurable, and action oriented? It's already action, it's called. So what's a measurement and a target we can put on it?
Like
you
ask,
at least-
ask for a business or ask for referrals.
That would add specificity, so I think that's good. What if, picking up on what Rumana shared earlier, what if we know that, let's use in context, we're going for 100 contacts a week. What if we say that 65 contacts per week will be sphere of influence? That makes it measurable, correct?
Oh, yeah.
65 contacts per week. I think that that would be a good, and then you could break that down to the day. So if we're looking at that, that would literally be somewhere around 12, right? 12 contacts a day will be in the sphere of influence. Does that pass the SMART test? It's specific, right? It's measurable, correct? It's an action. Is it realistic?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and it has a target or a timeline. Okay, and by the way, if anyone is sitting there saying, I'm new to real estate, or I just moved to my market 3 months ago, I don't have that big of a sphere here, it may not be realistic for you. So again, you would tailor this to your own situation, but I don't think anyone in here is that situation right now. All right, so what's another way to get this?
Door knock.
All expired.
Okay, let's do door knock first and then call expired. So door knock, how do we make that SMART goal?
Define the area.
Okay. Defined. And what else?
The number of doors you're going to knock on.
Alexa, turn on light.
So how many, I have some door knockers on here. How many doors is a reasonable number for, say, a session of door knocking?
Don't you think that depends on the area or the neighborhood?
It does. I just want an average. I mean, obviously, again, so all these things, you're going to customize it to yourself.
I
Yeah,
would,
some of you,
I would say 40 around your listings, 10 next door on each side, and then 20 across the street if you do it for every listing or sale that you
Okay.
make.
So we're just going to say 40 around listings. Okay, so that we gave it a measurement. And what would be the time frame if we're doing this door knocking specifically around current listings or new listings? Would it be within a week of launching?
Mhm.
What if you don't have any listings yourself right now?
Borrow one.
Something that just sold off of MLS.
In the price range that you want to be in.
Okay.
I love
Yeah,
the
price
idea of the 10 and 10 and then 20 across. That seems really doable to me.
Yes, yes. That is an excellent idea. Okay, so then the expireds, what's the expired one? This toolbar got in my way. Now, but it was doing so good. Shoot. Someone said expireds. What's the thought on that?
Are you going to call or are you going to door knock them?
I don't remember who said it. Who said
I
expired?
did. You can
Oh,
call
okay.
expired from your MLS. They've
What's the-
expired in the
what's-
last 60 days.
So 60 days back.
Okay.
We'll set a time frame to go back.
And then how often are you gonna dial? You know, what's the measurement around? Everyone knows you're not gonna call once and never again, right? That is a fart in a tornado. That will not give you any results. So what's the measurement of calling the expireds?
So they want to call them the day that expire or the day after?
Don't you
One of
have
the
to have
rules
a
of
smart plan
thumb-
around that? Like you put
What'd you
them
say, Peggy?
in. Don't you need to have a smart plan around that? Like you put them in and then you know that so many days later you're going to try them again. And if it doesn't relist, you call them again. You know,
I mean,
'cause
the
don't they
kind of
say
the-
like the fifth call or the fifth week or something like that? If it's not relisted, that's usually when you can connect. I don't know what it is.
Yes.
You know, I don't do
Right,
that.
okay,
but
so
I
I'll
listen
give
to
you
that.
guys a couple of the gold standards of calling expireds. Every day for 10 days at different times of day. And if you have if there's no communication in those 10 days, then just put them in a drip campaign, like for an unmet. If you believe they're still local to the area. And if you had some contact, obviously you adapt and do whatever with them as you will. By the way, in those 10 days, you call them until you've had meaningful contact. So if someone curses at you and says you should have sold this while it was on the market, you're all thieves and con artists, I hate you, and they hang up the phone, you call them back again. They are on that emotional high, they still have a home to sell, and you need to keep calling them so you hit them when they've calmed down. You may want to wait a couple of days to call again, but make sure you call them again. Let me be super clear. If they say to you, I am on the federal do not call list, I don't understand why you're calling me, then you want to make sure that you say, I'm very sorry for this mistake. I will make sure that I do not call you again, and I will remove you from my database. Do not use the royal we in this instance. You do not want to speak on behalf of your colleagues. The only thing you can control is your own database, and then make a note of that. Okay. But you want to apologize, be very professional, and remove it from your database. There are some people that will send a follow-up note card saying, I just wanted to reassure you that I did take you off of, out of my calling list. And if you need any future help in real estate, please let me know. And they include, you can do that if you'd like. If they were particularly hostile, I probably wouldn't do that. Okay.
Do you also text?
Go ahead.
Do you also text?
You can, yeah.
Because we call, then we text if we don't get a call, and then we call, text, and then we'll send notes.
So yeah, you can, I'll put 5. And yeah, so you get the concept here. So you could do 10 dials in 10 days, send a text every other day. So maybe 5 texts in 10 days, and send either a card or a note or drop a package off at the door. Okay. So again, you can see this is specific. You've got a group to start with because you're going to pull the last 60 days and you're just going to start to execute. Every day you'll add in the fresh, and after 10 days, you will be removing the excess. All right, so how else can we get listings?
Can I go back to that just ever so quickly? Are you going to include Sunday as a day to call?
No, when we're talking, I mean, you can if you'd like, but the bulk of what we're talking about here is Monday through Friday.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
All right, so how else can we get listings?
I just got a listing yesterday from mailers. I mail out postcards when I just list and just sold.
We do a lot of mailing to expireds. We hit them hard 3 times at least. And we may not hear from them for a year. But again, our mailer is on their refrigerator.
Yeah, or their counter. Yeah.
Somewhere.
So it just listed just sold postcards. How many do you send around each listing?
200.
Okay, so 200 around each listing that meets the requirements. When you do that, do you also send it to the top 120 in your database?
I actually don't. I have a title company mail it, and they just look at the closest 200 addresses.
Okay.
Honestly, I send them to myself, and I don't know if that would help. I'm sure that would remind them like, wow, Amber's is killing it. But honestly, the stack is thick. So I don't know if that would be annoying. I mean, That could be a limiting belief, but
No, most people that do that. I'm listening to people requirements. I don't know how the 200 ended up there. So, what a lot of people do is they just send one per month that is a particularly spectacular listing or a particularly incredible sale. Okay. So we'll do just listed, just sold postcards. Yes. If you're in a state where you want to do under contract or pending, you can do that as well. Yes, you could do coming soon if you wanted to, but I think we're going to leave this as just listed, just sold, 200 around each listing to meet the requirements. What do I mean by that? In an area where you want to sell more, the price point that supports your average price or higher, a neighborhood where even if it's a little bit below the sales price that's your target, it has a very high turnover rate and you already have name recognition. So, meaning you get a listing an hour and 10 minutes away that is uninhabitable and on a crappy parcel that you're doing as a favor for a cousin because no one local would list it. Okay, well then don't do a mailing around that unless there's some bizarre reason that you want to. Okay. All right, and then postcards around expired. So that I think would be a separate line here. Sorry. Postcards. And you said you send out 3. How often do you send them? Connie?
We send them the day that it expires, they get one, and then the next week and the next week.
Okay.
should we write these down, or are you going to share your screen? I'm
going to share it. Okay. All right. So what's another way to get listings right now?
Open houses.
Seminar.
Open houses. So we're going to do open. I heard someone else in there, but we're doing open houses next. So how are we going to make open houses a SMART goal?
Invite the neighbors.
Okay, so I think, so we're gonna invite neighbors. We're going to, I think 3 weekends per week is good. If you're thinking, hey, this is full court press, I've got a vacation in there, I'm just gonna go ahead and do, 4 weekends a month for 8 weeks. That's fine if you want to do a full court press. I don't think that's a good sustainable schedule unless, of course, you have a regular day off during the week. I don't know many people that are good at that. Their agents' work tends to seep into everything, every day. So what if for this exercise we say per month, per month, sorry, and level 7 or above? Does everyone know what I mean by that?
Shift book.
Shift book, that's right. So grab the shift chart and make sure it's level 7 or above, meaning, and modernize it. So it's going to be put in the MLS early in the week. It's going to be advertised. You will do email blasts. You will put it on all social media platforms. You will door knock 10 houses on either side, 20 across the street at a minimum. You will have balloons. You'll have 16 or more signs out. You will have somebody there with you to collect contact information at the door. So like level 7 or above. Everyone get what that means? If you want some of those details I just went through, you can grab them from the recording, or maybe Ruby could type it in the chat. And I highly recommend that you do shift back to having someone stationed at the front door to collect people's information before they go through. So I don't want to get sidetracked on that because I want to make sure we hit 20. So I think this is good. And you guys know, so it's open houses 3 weekends per month, and you're treating it, you're really turning up the volume on each one. So what was someone else started saying something when someone said open houses. What was that?
I said have a seller's seminar.
Okay, seller seminar. Not know what is happening. I don't know why that's getting smaller. All right, seller seminar. What's the measurables on that?
Has anybody done a seller seminar and how successful have they been? I'd be interested to know because I've done it in the past years ago and it's just, you get 3 or 4 people and it's not, I done buyers, not never sellers.
Did one years ago when people were upside down. So it was kind of sort of a.
So who said seller seminar?
I did, Jennifer.
Jennifer, okay. So Jennifer, can you tell me, give me the measurables on it? And I'm not trying to cut you guys off. I want us to hit 20 before we're done. We've got 9 minutes. You guys better get your thinking caps on. So Jennifer, what is the measurable on a seller seminar?
I would have 2 a month.
Oh, okay.
And in my market, 3 or 4 people, that's a lot.
Are these in person or virtual?
I've done it both ways. You can offer to have it in person. And then if they
tell me what I'm
can't-
typing. For this measurable example, is this in person or virtual?
Maybe try virtual.
Okay.
That way people can join
Virtual.
from their own homes. Yeah, do a virtual one.
How many people you invite to each one?
Well, I would invite my whole database.
Okay. And what is the target audience? I need like a measurable on it. You said 3 attendees.
Say that again.
You said that you're happy if you have 3 attendees per event.
Yeah, that's in person. So yeah, I mean, I think anybody showing up is still a lead.
Okay, so are we doing this as in person?
No, we're gonna do it virtual. So
all right, so seller seminar, have 2 per month. Invite your whole database and a target of 3 attendees per event. Okay, what else? Where are you guys getting listings? Your loved one needs surgery in 30 days.
Visit businesses and add them to your database.
Accountants, maybe attorneys.
All right, so business to business, and then what's the measurable?
I'm in Capper Academy right now. We have to add 6 businesses a week.
Wow. And you have to have a phone conversation with them or meet them in person?
Correct.
Okay, so I'm putting face to face. So 6 per week. Is that realistic?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And where else are you guys getting listings right now?
You can create a neighborhood newsletter and try to dominate your own neighborhood. Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to be a new neighborhood newsletter, give them information about what's going on in the neighborhood and obviously information about the real estate activity in our neighborhood.
So if you do that, you need the listing signed so that your loved one gets surgery in 30 days. Is that going to produce, how are you going to get it to where it's giving you business right now?
Well, I would not mail them. I would drop them off in person. So it's going to be coupled with door knocking, having that conversation, explaining who I am. I'm on the HOA board, what this is for. And I'll slip in, I thought about moving.
Okay.
At work with the farm, you think? Asking for me. You think that will work with the farm?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So with a call to action, delivered in person. Sorry, guys. I don't know why this thing keeps moving. Okay, delivered in person. And you said we should put a measurable on it in terms of how many are delivered or how many interactions there are.
Yeah. 250 would be delivered.
A week or a month?
No, that would be a quarterly newsletter. Yes, you could do it a month.
Quarter?
You could do it a month, but I think a quarter.
That's fine. I'm
capable of doing right now.
So in this next 16 weeks, we're going to do one newsletter and walk around and talk and deliver to each one of those people.
Once a week.
So, I'm sorry. So 250 per week or per quarter?
Per quarter is what I'm
Okay.
doing.
All right,
Like
what's the
double
next
it?
one? We're missing some big ones. We've got 5 minutes. Timer is on.
Client event.
Client event. Okay, so you would do a client event and you're confident that would bring you listings.
Yes,
Right
I got
now.
one.
Okay, so what's the event? What's the target?
I would just do, well, I would invite my whole database. But I just did a happy hour and I got two pieces of business out of it.
We'll do happy hour. And I'm gonna put the 5-pronged invitation process.
5-prong.
You all know what that means?
No, I don't.
So
Is that like
is-
Eventbrite?
That is 2 phone calls, text messages, email, invitation, mail invitation. All 5 methods included with reminders built in prior. So meaning that we have a fully fleshed out invitation process. What's the target for attendance?
35 people.
Perfect. Okay. All right, what's next?
What about social media posts?
Okay. Posts. Okay, what's the measurable?
Probably a social media post every day.
Okay.
Social media for what? Saying what?
Just, call for information about why now was the time to list your house.
Or market expert.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Someone else had their hand up or was gonna say something?
How about for subway owners?
So just putting the tying, and I was waiting, thank you, Peggy, because I was waiting for someone to say that. I want to put a tie on this social media post. To me, that so far we have not met the goal of SMART goal. So may I throw out one that I think everyone should be doing?
Yeah, sure.
I would be doing 30 properties in 30 days. Or real estate across America. Hey, I'm sharing a different listing from a different state every day, the next 50 days. Join me on this journey. And then share it. It could be a quick video or it could be a social media post. And what I just said could be typed. So what if for the purpose of this exercise to make it a SMART goal, I'm going to put 30 properties in 30 days.
Even though they're out of state.
Personally, I think out of state is more powerful. The ones that are getting the highest engagement is, and it's the dual benefit of then you're creating relationships with agents in other areas. You're tagging them. That yes, out of state.
And not only that, if people see you doing that and they're thinking of relocating, they're gonna think you have access to information out of state.
Absolutely. Yep.
Do we need to ask the other agent first?
So we have 3 minutes less. We have less than that. My next coaching call is coming up. I really want to hit 20. We're not going to be able to do SMART. I need you all spitting out ideas. So Peggy, you said FSBOs. What's the measurable on FSBOs?
Call, text, and door knock them. Make sure you get them on the phone.
Yes, call them every day for 10 days, put them on a SMART plan after that, door knock if they don't answer, and if they have an open house, go by the open house, make sure you honor the open house rules of a FSBO. Where else are listings?
Facebook ads.
Okay, and what's the measurable?
But buyer's letters, if you have a specific buyer approved for in a specific area they're looking, you can drop off the letters or mail them.
So circle prospecting? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, circle prospecting.
Oh, that's what it's called. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Golden letter, I'm putting golden letter, buyer need. How many would you mail out? So what if you mailed out 100 of those every week?
Yep.
Yep.
Facebook ads, I can't think of a quick measurable on that. What
Well,
else?
10 days. I did 10 days at $10 a day.
Okay, perfect. All right, real quick, and apologize to Shiaki. Shiaki, if you don't mind, we're just gonna finish this real quick. What else?
Begging? No.
Yes.
Begging, yes. So, yes, I would call that open or vulnerable combo with inner circle.
Do people still
Same.
host open houses? I'm not open houses,
I'm gonna
garage
put that
sales.
you would do these conversations, you would have 10 per week, so 2 per day. If you don't know what that means, ask me on your next coaching call. I'll go over the script for it. What did you say, Loretta?
Cards, gratitude cards, 1 card a day, every day, Monday to Friday.
Send out 1 card a day.
Handwritten card, thank you card for something.
Thank you. Card.
I think old buyer leads,
What was that?
old buyer leads.
Like
if you have buyers tagged from a year or two ago to throw those back up, because chances are they have something to sell.
say call each of them 3 times, dial 3 times.
Yeah.
There's also orphan clients and former clients. That's probably a sphere, huh?
Yeah, that's in your sphere.
Okay.
Getting involved in a organization.
Oh yeah. Chamber of Commerce.
You could do that. I still, and believe me, I love those. I love BNI, like creating your own formal vendor program. I like all of that. Sometimes it's not immediate. So I'm going to throw out 3 that I think are immediate that we did not quite cover yet. Having a full-on listing presentation with someone from your inner circle at least once a week. And so that would be the listing appointment per week challenge. The formal vendor luncheon, so hold plan on having at least 12 people, and you specifically ask for a referral. By the way, when you do that, so you start with people you already do business with and tell them that they can bring somebody with them. Okay. And then what's the last one? Anyone sitting there with the last one? Just dying to burst out.
Send CMAs to all clients.
Aha. I'm gonna call it market stats.
Yeah, market stats.
To all past clients.
How often?
You can do that through command.
Once every 2 months, once every quarter.
So if we're looking at just the next 16 weeks, I think you could do 1 massive one.
Twice.
What if we said that that would go out to 1,000 people?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can do that through command.
All right, so that is the 20 ways exercise. Can you all see if you did the 20 ways exercise with your team? Do you think you would come up with a lot more ideas and more direction and have you come up with some gold, right?
Yes.
And then let's just close out real quick. Because we're stepping on Shiaki's time, we're not going to get a chance to do ahas. Do not underestimate the 30-day challenges. 30-day challenges would be something like, I'm going to have a cup of coffee with a referring partner every day for 30 days. I am going to do my listing presentation every day for 30 days. I am going to identify a local business every day for 30 days. So don't forget that power. And if you do that 30-day challenge right now, you're setting the momentum and the to carry you through the summer. So you're ahead of the curve and not playing catch up. You can see these in the slides. We'll share it. One last thought, if you're not going to lead generate, I would recommend that you seriously consider if you want to stay in real estate right now. It is reaching a point where to remain profitable, if you're not going to lead generate, it's going to be very difficult. That could be set up as a separate meeting. So we're going to skip ahas and Q&A. I hope this was helpful. To give me a quick, does anyone take anything today? Just give me a show of hands or a clap.
Thank you. Thank you, Bridget.
And connect with each other. Okay, so get out there and take what you like from this, customize it to you, do the exercise with your team or with yourself, and make it happen. And let's make this the biggest summer you've ever had. Okay. All right. Talk to you all later.